For the last 3 years, you know the deal. One single company has literally defined artificial intelligence for the entire world. People everywhere started saying ChatGPT the exact same way they used to say Google it. It was the undisputed king, the default setting for the future. But in the first week of July 2026, that reality quietly and irreversibly shifted. The king was dethroned. And the craziest part? Almost nobody outside the deepest tech circles even noticed it happening in real time. Welcome to our explainer. Today we're unpacking what is basically the ultimate corporate tech thriller, the exact moment the balance of power in AI flipped entirely. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the stakes here are absolutely staggering. Look at this number, $47 billion. That is Anthropic's self-reported annualized revenue as of that fateful July. Just let the sheer scale of that figure wash over you for a second. We are talking about a single entity generating wealth at a velocity that is, quite frankly, almost incomprehensible. It's completely redefining the ceiling for what a modern software company can even be. But that number really only means something when you put it right next to its main rival. Anthropic is sitting up there at that $47 billion mark, while OpenAI's revenue is trailing behind it somewhere between $25 and $33 billion. Guys, this isn't just a gap, it's an absolute gulf. This proves undeniably that the company that essentially invented the modern AI chatbot boom, the one we all just assumed was utterly untouchable, is no longer the default. The crown has officially changed hands. And honestly, the warning signs, they were actually flashing a few months prior. Back in May 2026, for the first time ever, ChatGPT's generative AI market share actually dropped below 50%. It lost its absolute majority grip on the market. Those were the tectonic plates shifting right beneath our feet. It was the first really undeniable data point showing us that consumers and enterprises were suddenly willing to look elsewhere.
Moving to Section 1, how Anthropic pulled ahead, the secret weapon. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how exactly this happened. Because how do you unseat a monopoly that literally became a global verb? This was no fluke, and it definitely wasn't just slick marketing. It was a targeted strike on a massive vulnerability, enterprise exhaustion. Think about it. Businesses were just tired of buying these expensive, highly publicized AI agents that were ultimately unreliable, burning through huge corporate budgets in weeks without delivering actual, measurable value. So Anthropic executed an absolute masterclass in tactical disruption. First, they launched Claude Sonnet 5 and boldly made it the default for every single user, free or pro. Second, they hit the market with highly aggressive introductory pricing right through the end of August, basically undercutting the competition when they were most vulnerable. And third, and perhaps most importantly, they had this relentless, uncompromising focus on making sure their AI just stayed on task. They literally weaponized reliability. Which brings us to this incredible piece of feedback from Anthropic's early partners. I want to read this quote to you directly because it perfectly captures this turning point. They wanted agents that actually stay on task, follow instructions, and complete multi-step work without falling apart halfway through. In an industry absolutely drowning in hype, crazy sci-fi promises, and theoretical capabilities, a tool that simply does the boring work without failing, that became the ultimate disruptor. They didn't build a flashier product, they built a sturdier one. This leads us right into Section 2, the $500 billion war. To really grasp the magnitude of this rivalry, we've got to zoom out from the product-level features and look at the macroeconomic battlefield. Because make no mistake, this isn't just two companies squabbling over software subscriptions. This is a war being fought for control of the future economy's core infrastructure, and the stakes are terrifyingly high. $510 billion. That is the global venture capital funding for just the first half of 2026 alone. The AI industry is currently sitting inside the most explosive funding environment in human history. Just to put that into perspective for a second, this is a level of capital mobilization that rivals actual national GDPs, all being poured into a single, hyper-accelerated tech sector in just 6 months.
And here's where the story gets even wilder. Out of that record-shattering $510 billion, just two companies, OpenAI and Anthropic, captured 43% of it. The entire rest of the globe, thousands upon thousands of startups, are left scrapping over the remaining 57%. This concentration of wealth is just completely absurd. These two corporate giants swallowed more cash in 6 months than the entire global venture capital market distributed in some full prior years. That's basically enough to buy a small country or, at least a very nice private island for every single engineer on payroll. They are essentially arming themselves for a technological Cold War.
Now for Section 3, the wildcard challenger approaching. But right as we settle into the idea of this two-horse US-dominated corporate race, a new variable enters the equation. And this shifts the tone entirely from a Silicon Valley rivalry to a tense, really unpredictable global geopolitical race. Because nature abhors a vacuum, right? An industry this lucrative is bound to attract challengers from way beyond the established borders. Enter Z.AI's GLM 5.2. This is a low-cost Chinese model that has suddenly just burst onto the scene. And it's not merely a budget alternative. Industry analysts now consider it to be fully competitive with the elite frontier models built by both Anthropic and OpenAI. It's an incredibly capable system that basically emerged overnight to challenge the dominant players. So this dynamic creates a really fascinating tension. On one side, you've got these highly expensive Western frontier models, heavily capitalized and fighting for premium enterprise dominance. But on the other side, you have highly capable, low-cost Chinese alternatives entering the arena. This has sent a massive wave of anxiety rippling right through the industry. It's reignited a fierce global debate about whether China is definitively catching up in the AI race. And there is a very real fear among Western giants that these cheaper alternatives are going to force them into a brutal, margin-crushing price war.
Bringing us to Section 4, the new rules of AI.
So, the crucial point is this. Everything we thought we knew about how this market operates has been completely rewritten in a matter of months. We are no longer in that experimental, let's see what happens phase of generative AI. We are in a highly mature, highly ruthless new era, and the rules of engagement have fundamentally changed for everyone involved. The old currency of AI, that was all about raw model size, how many parameters you had, how flashy the demo was, how human-like the chat interface felt. But the new currency? It's reliability and trust. The era of paying a premium for a flashy AI that hallucinates or just breaks down during a multi-step task is officially over. Enterprises have spoken with their wallets. Trust is now literally the only metric that dictates survival. Which leaves us with this final lingering thought. Just 3 short years ago, betting against OpenAI would have sounded completely absurd. I mean, they were untouchable. Today, the company that effectively created this market just lost the majority of it. So as we watch this high-stakes thriller unfold in real time, the question isn't just who's winning today. The real question is, in a space moving this fast, with $500 billion on the line and global challengers closing in, can anyone actually hold the lead for long? Think about that. If you found this explainer useful and you want to keep understanding the actual data behind all the hype, make sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time.